economics class, we're going to be doing Unit 1, pages 37 and through 38, skipping 39, and going right to page 40. So again, 37, 38, 40, skipping 39, and skipping the rest of the lesson after 40 because some of that stuff is going to be covered in class, and a couple things just aren't kind of redundant and repetitive. So with that, let's get started. Big ticket items. This is mostly what we're talking about today. We're not talking about buying groceries. We're not talking about buying lunch. We're talking about big, expensive single items. Big ticket items. We're talking about durable goods. Like if you buy a pencil, you're not buying it because you think it's going to last a long time. It's going to last a short amount of time. It's consumable, and you buy a new one, and it's low cost. It's fine. But when you buy a washing machine, a car, a house, this isn't a short-term buy. This is something that you want to last a very long time. You plan to use this item and not having to replace it for a long time. That's a durable good. Things we expect to last for a long time, not a consumable good or something we don't care. Like maybe we're just buying some pants to sleep in at night. We hope it lasts a long time, but we might buy it cheap because we don't care if it does because we didn't pay much for it. To pay for these big ticket items, obviously, you could just pay cash. I mean, if you're rich and you're buying a house, maybe you can just buy it. $300,000, $400,000, I don't know. But same thing with cars. Like some people, and this is more common, you probably know people like this who've just paid cash for a car or for a refrigerator. But not everybody is in a position to do this. Some of them, they know they have enough discretionary income to afford an additional expense for an extended period of time, but maybe not enough to cover all of that this month. So they're going to be taking on some kind of installment debt. So you can't pay for it all now, so you pay it in installments over time. So maybe like you can pay it once a month for 12 months or 24 months, or like in a house you might do their 15 or 30 years. That would be more along the mortgage. I guess technically the house payments are installment debt, but we call those mortgages. Now you're taking a loan out on the house saying that you're going to pay, depending on the type of loan, 15 or 30 years. You're going to pay interest back. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There's a charge. It's not free to take a loan. And you're going to pay it back over a long period of time. Most installment debt is not like house payments. You're going to be paying it in a year or less, sometimes more than a year. It just depends on what you work out with whoever you're taking a loan from. So debt. Debt's bad. It just is. There's really not too many situations where you can say having debt is good. Unfortunately, for those of us who are not very wealthy, and even for most of the wealthy too, debt is just something you're going to have to do. Let's talk about buying a house. If you stayed at home, didn't move out of your parents' house and saved up money and didn't have to pay rent, of course, if they're nice enough, for, 20 years, you might be able to buy a house cash. Get a great discount on it. I mean, if you could buy a house cash, you'll get a homie discount for sure, even if they ain't your homie. But that means you got to live at your parents' house for 20 years. Screw that. I don't want to do that. So, you're going to take on debt to buy your first home. You just are. Because the cost of living with your parents, if that's even an option, is just not acceptable. You got a life to live. You might want to start a family before 20 years from now. You're going to take on debt. And same thing for other things. You might need a car. You need a car. You got to get to work. You got to maybe go to school. You're going to eventually need a car. Especially living in Southern California. So in that case, you're going to have to take on debt if you're going to want like a higher quality or you want a newer car and you don't want something that's old, especially if you're having long, many miles commuting. If you're working in town, rust bucket's fine. I drove a rust bucket when I was in high school. You're fine with a rust bucket too if you're just driving around your city. But if you're going to commute to say like LA and back, Rust bucket's going to break down. You're going to miss work. You're going to miss pay. Maybe lose your job. It's not worth it. You need a better car. Taking on debt might be the only way to do it, and then it's acceptable. It's comparing the cost of waiting versus the cost of right now. Like, let's say you want a new entertainment center. If you wait a year and save up for it, what are you giving up? You're giving up the aesthetics, the good feeling you have having a new entertainment center, and maybe your entertainment center you have now is not as organized, but maybe it's something that you can wait for a year to save up and pay cash instead of buying it now when you don't have enough money and you might have to take a loan and then pay extra through interest. It's that's where that wants and needs comes into play. So a lot of different ways that you could pay for something that you can't just pay for it all up front. One is charge accounts. There's a lot of different ways you can see charge accounts. One way is they say, okay, you can take this home, but you sign this paperwork and you have, say, 90 days to pay for it. That's when you see the advertisements on windows or 90 days, same as cash. That's what they're talking about. Fine. You agree to pay this much, maybe once a month for 3 months. You can pay it off earlier if you want. And as long as you pay it all within 90 days, there will be no finance charge. There'll be no extra fees. Now, if you don't pay in that time, then there'll be a price to pay. Maybe they take it back from you, an extreme case, and you don't get your money back. Or they just keep charging you extra. It could be it'll probably be a standard fee that just repetitively charges to you until you pay off your charge account. And this is not like a credit card. It only applies to the product you're buying from that store. So you can't open a charge account with Kmart and then use that charge account to pay for something from Target. No. If you open a charge account with a business, it's to buy something from that business and that business only. Credit cards. Now, credit cards give you a lot more flexibility. You can use your credit card to buy anything you want from anyone as long as it doesn't go over your limit. Depending on how good your credit rating is, you might be able to put a lot on your card, or you might not be able to put very much. As an 18-year-old getting your first credit card, you may have a really low limit, maybe only $500, but as you earn credit, you can get many thousands of dollars worth of credit down the line. So you have a lot more freedom in charge accounts. You might think, well, why would I do a charge account with a business? Why not just use my credit card? Because a credit card, if you don't pay the entire balance off before the next bill comes, you get charged interest, and it's high interest. Credit card interest can be anywhere from 18% to as high as even 30%, maybe more. I don't know. I've heard some pretty scammy credit cards out there. Interest rates on credit cards are ridiculously high. So let's just say it's 20%. So if you're buying a $100 item and you don't pay off that $100 that first month, if you put it on your credit card, that means next month added to your account is another 20%. 20% of $100 is $20. Well, now you're paying $120. Another month goes by, you still don't pay it off. They add 20% of that balance, $120. Now it's going to be 24 is going to be at $24 is 20% of 120. So it's going to be $144. Now all of a sudden, 2 months late, and you're paying almost 50% more than what you had, than what you thought you were going to pay. So the risk of overpaying, paying more than something's worth, goes really high. This is how people get in a lot of trouble with credit cards. They buy something with the credit that they have, they don't pay it off, and the debt keeps piling and piling and piling because of those extremely high interest rates. So when we're talking about finance charges and interest rates, we're talking about the cost of credit. So any kind of loan, whether it's a bank loan, like you might take when you're trying to buy a piece of property, that's going to be like a straight loan or like a mortgage. Whereas a credit card is kind of like a loan, but you don't have to keep applying it for every single thing you buy. A mortgage for a home, you just buy it once, or you apply for the home once, and then all that money that you get from that loan goes right to the house. There's some exceptions to that. Pretty much you don't get to spend it whatever you want. It just, You take this loan out and all that money goes into the house. That's your typical loan from a bank, a mortgage. But credit card, you can spend it whatever you want. You can have 10 different, 20 different things all charged to the same account. The money that, the cost of whatever you're buying, not counting interest, not counting finance charges, how much money you owe, not counting interest, not counting finance charges, is the principal. That's what the principal is. So if you have a $200,000 loan for a house, the principal, before you pay anything back, is $200,000. Let's say you pay $50,000 of that off. Well, then your principal is now $150,000. Your principal is how much money you still owe on your credit card, on your loan, not counting interest. The interest is what's added when you don't pay off your loan fast enough for the terms. So for a finance charge, it's usually not going to be quite like it's similar to interest, as in an extra fee, but it's usually not a percentage of the current balance where it builds on top of each other. It could just be, and I'm just making a number up, it could be like $50. You don't pay in 90 days, $50 charge. A month goes by, you still haven't paid, $50 charge. It's just a static number that doesn't change. But an annual percentage rate, that's where it keeps building up. So 20%, if you have an annual percentage rate of 20%, interest is expressed as a percentage as opposed to finance charge, which is expressed as dollars and cents. Annual percentage rate, you add on, it keeps adding on, building. So if you have $100, 20% puts it to 120. Still don't pay it off, another 20%, that's 144. Then 20% of that. So instead of just like say $50 every month, one month will be 20, then it could be 24, and it keep building up. If you don't pay it off like for a year or two, all of a sudden your interest might be $100 a month, and it can keep getting higher and higher than that. And that's why people start getting crushed by debt. When you hear about debt just completely ruining people, you know, they're chained to their credit card in this little image, they're burdened by the debt, that's what they're talking about. And that concludes the lesson. Don't forget to do textbook assignment unit 1, pages 42 through 56 using the textbook, and I'll see you in class. Thank you.